clearly in the Addis Ababa Declaration, that is the financing of development in 2015, which has been relayed by other similar meetings like the one in Paris in 2021. The limits of this model have been established on the basis of objective factors, and I obviously do not want to hash these, but I would limit myself to my brief remarks to one or two of them. In Africa, the contributions of external financing in the development of Africa have been below the expectations, translating in fact an injustice, another injustice to Africa. This injustice wears many faces. Although not responsible for the climate change, Africa has suffered the consequences because of the lack of financial solidarity, which have been the promises made at the various, despite the various conferences that have been held. In fact, the situation which is beyond the control of Africa and also has been affected by the financial crisis. The disparity in the reform, what is the shock of the COVID-19, what is to increase liquidity through the establishment of the special drawing rights. Africa has not benefited significantly, and it has only received a bare minimum of 5.1% for 1.4 billion inhabitants, while the search for the means to contain Africa and which is to operate within this international financial architecture today. There is consensus among the African experts, and even beyond. It is high time to, in fact, call into question the identification of the various problems that are faced by the development of Africa. This meeting is being held at the opportune time because the innovative tone of the meeting, in fact, which calls into question the international financial architecture, and this points to a new reflection that through its deep movement, the various problems that are at stake for the development of the continent. In this movement, the central role of the African Development Bank is known to everybody. It is an opportunity for the bank to take stock of its achievements over the past years in order to ensure a viable path in which the development of Africa can follow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is more than urgent that we work for a thorough reform of the international financial architecture in order to adopt relevant and appropriate solutions to deal with the excessive and excruciating debt, climate change, the various attacks, and also the multilateral banks in order to defend the interests of Africa in this area. It is logical that all the African financial institutions present here and those which are absent to support the African Union in its movement that is to ensure a change, a reversal of the economic situation in the world. I welcome the accession of the African Union to be a permanent member of the G20. It is a decisive turning point, and it is a new hope for Africa, but it is to be involved in the process of the reform of the economic and financial governance of the world. It is an appropriate forum for our institutions and our countries to initiate together the process of formulating and working out the African common position on strategic issues, which is at the heart of the world financial institutions. I'm thinking of the thorny issue of the reform of the Bretton Woods institutions, the management of debt, the financing of climate change, and the international tax system. When you look at, in the light of the ongoing development and also the preparation of the UN Convention, framework for a convention, to prepare a response to this international financial architecture, we have to carry out immediately our own financial and economic reforms with the establishment of African financial institutions, which have been established more than 20 years ago. I think it has been delayed for too long. The African Central Bank, the African Investment Bank, the African Monetary Fund, as well as the African Stock Exchange. It is now that we have to adopt concrete plans and have to bring them back on track. I call for an ambitious replenishment of the resources of the African Development Fund. It is an instrument which is used for concessional loans that are, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, over the past years, the achievements and the results produced by the African Development have shown the will of the bank to support Africa to respond to the various problems. It is through its 5 priorities, the high 5, that has put the structural transformation of the economies on the rail and to improve access to electricity, to food, and to socio-economic infrastructure, which are very essential. So many factors for the consolidation of our economies. By improving the conditions that are conducive to innovation, particularly in the key areas and industries and services, in order to facilitate the access of economies, national economies, to the value chains in the world. They have to play a major role in the facilitation of trade facilitation and also the intra-regional and global integration. In the wake of all this, I encourage the bank to increase its support to the various projects of Africa, the industrialization of the continent, in order to reduce the vulnerability to the external shocks and also to increase investments in the key areas like health, education, innovation, energy, agriculture, food security, and sustainable infrastructure, which are the guarantees for its social and sustainable development. For its part, the African Union has resolutely decided to cooperate with ADB. This cooperation will only materialize and take a concrete form through a continental strategic framework in order to support the member states in the implementation, the concrete implementation geared towards the improvement in the coming years. The Commission has also given its full support to the joint initiative of the African Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank, that is to have a hybrid capital with the mobilization of the SDRs. This mobilization, which is equivalent to a complementary financing source, will ensure the independence for the financing. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the light of such a record, which is anchored in a prospective vision, it cannot be remiss on me on behalf of the African Union and my own behalf to congratulate deservedly to my brother, Dr. Adesina. Maybe he can even do better. I have the conviction that the bank will, afterwards and later on, the archives will speak of his actions and activities and achievements. So with this thought for the future generations, I wish you full and fruitful deliberations and success in your meeting, and I thank you for your kind attention.